Take yourself back to 1997, the Game Boy Pocket just came out and everybody was buying it. The Sega Nomad was building faster than a wheel in a cold shower, and Nintendo had something around 90% of the portable gaming market. The term Game Boy was basically synonymous with portable gaming in general. Gaming megalodons like Atari and Sega failed to impress even the most anti-Nintendo fanboys, and the Game Boy itself, although old and outdated, was more fun than anything else in the entire world. So leave it up to Tiger Electronics, a company whose biggest achievements at the time were appearing in Home Alone 2, the worst one, and making shady portable LCD games, to be the handsome stalwart to defeat the evil Japanese villains and allow America to rightfully reclaim its right to damage their children. So Tiger Electronics, who had spent a few years manufacturing stuff for companies like Hasbro and Sega, wanted in on the money printing license that Nintendo had. Since they undoubtedly saw Sega's piss-weak attempt at dethroning the super mega hyper mutant that was the Game Boy, Tiger Electronics took a big collective swig of paint there and decided that getting into the portable gaming scene was not company suicide. Apparently, they decided to go a different route than Nintendo, as marketing to irrational, whiny kids with access to their parents' and grandparents' credit cards was less lucrative than boring adults who were rational and don't need a half-baked PDA Game Boy hybrid to fill their time. So instead of creating something endearing and fun, they basically took a Game Boy Pocket and sandwiched it into a PDA like a clever metaphor in a YouTube video, messy with much loss from both parties. And thus the Game.com was born. So what does this failure of a genetic experiment have in store for us? Well, if you can't tell by the tone of the last two paragraphs, not much. And what exactly did it have? Basically the same specifications of the original Game Boy, except it had 4 shades of grey and a touchscreen. Sadly, its touchscreen had been dropped on its head in childbirth and only worked sometimes. It also had an AC adapter and an internet cable. Yeah, that's right, there was a portable gaming console with internet connectivity way back in 1997. And you could do so much on it. You could surf the internet, well, only with text. At least you could connect your games to the internet, if only to upload high scores. Yeah, there was no actual real gameplay, just a glorified high score table that required you to pay a monthly fee to access. Amazing that a company could offer a useless service that you had to pay money for and not be immediately laughed out at. Good thing that doesn't happen today. But it's not just the hardware that matters. The Game Boy certainly shows that. Pokemon, Kirby, Metroid, Mario, slap a weird hat or stuff it in a ball and it sold like hotcakes if hotcakes were worshipped as gods. Luckily, the Gammonomicon had a jaw-dropping library of 20 games. The biggest were a shitty port of Duke Nukem, a shitty port of Sonic, a game called Lights Out designed for accountants and people who find joy in performing simple math, and a fighting game where you play as a car. So basically it had no games, and its biggest games were for weirdos. Glad no systems have that problem nowadays. Special mention has to go to the commercials though. The main one has a short shouty man standing on a security guard while yelling to his customers and calling them idiots while refusing questions and saying it is the best game console ever and begs to be touched. There's something distinctively Freudian about that. I just can't put my finger on it. These commercials definitely didn't help them in the sales department. Anybody that was on the fence between being a boring square who wanted a calculator and a fun-loving cool kid who wanted games definitely was not swayed. Even the stuffy nerds didn't like it that much. It took 15 damn years for there to be an emulator of the damn thing online. Most good consoles get cracked on day one, with even the bad ones taking no more than a few months before the sad and hopefuls at least try to get infinite games on it. But after watching a few Let's Plays of said emulators, I can see why. Even with the super mega quantum computers of now, the games still chug and lag like you're trying to run Crysis on an old sweetbread. How is the system compared to the Game Boy? Well, as favorably as a level 100 Mewtwo versus a Grimer. One is a piece of art designed to make you enjoy carrying a brick in your backpack, and the other is a mess on the carpet.